afternoon, or evening, whenever you're watching this. The amazing thing, how we can watch this anytime. Welcome, my name is Amy Steinberg, and welcome to Center for Spiritual Living, Los Angeles, where I am blessed and honored to be joining Reverend Dr. Keith Cox this morning for an hour of spiritual nourishment. I thought, because we're going to be talking about opening to the happiness today, that maybe we would sing this one together as the opening song. I am opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. I am opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. I am opening. I am opening. I am opening. I am opening. Get your body moving, maybe a little snapping or clapping. I am opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. I am opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. I am opening. I am opening. I am opening. I am opening. I am opening up. One more time. I am opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. I am opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. I am opening. I am opening. I am opening. I am
And speaking of opening, thank you for opening us this morning into
Yay!
that sweet surrender of spirit. Good morning, Amy Steinberg.
Good morning, Reverend Dr. Keith Cox.
Yes, you're so colorful there. I love your backdrop. And I thought I had a bright backdrop, and now I've gone dark. There we go. Maybe that'll help.
We're very colorful people.
We are. We are. From the inside out, and then the outside is a reflection of that. We're going to be speaking of reflections later today, for sure. So, what a joy it is to see your beautiful face and feel your empowering presence this morning as we come together on this day, September 18th in the year 2022, for our Sunday morning celebration service here at the Center for Spiritual Living, Los Angeles. So,
I'm thrilled to be here.
I know, and you're joining us from Asheville, North Carolina.
That's right.
Right, you're home and you've been up and already have done a service this morning, and
It's afternoon here.
this afternoon you're channeling it, baby. You're doing it, channeling it, and letting it be. So
I love you.
I love it. I love you too. So we'll see you again in a moment. Sounds good. So good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Dr. Keith Cox, the spiritual leader here at the Center for Spiritual Living, Los Angeles, and welcome to our Sunday morning celebration service. If you're joining us through Zoom and or Facebook Live or later through our YouTube channel or wherever you may find us, know that it's a joy and a pleasure to share this time together, to open to the spirit within, as our beautiful Amy was just singing to us. And may today be the day that we each find a new nugget of information or a spark within to not only remind us of who we are, but who we know ourselves to be. To let this time together be a time for healing. Healing, in the metaphysical terminology, is a revealing of the divinity that exists already, meaning that it's through this lining up with, this alignment of the qualities of the divine that we're each imbued with, the infinite power of life itself, that a shift occurs within our awareness, and in so doing, the law of life responds by corresponding to that, and that in the physical world changes. And so I invite you to open yourself up today to that, and I affirm for each one of us that a transformation, a time of healing is taking place for each one of us and us collectively thus radiating out into the world today. And so welcome, welcome, and welcome. I'm going to place on the screen some slides to move us into our opening before we move into the rest of the service today, and let this be a guide for us as to where we go next. So here we go. And so a big welcome to every single one of you. Hello to the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles community. We come together to honor that power that exists within each and every one of us. As you see on the screen with the beautiful hands in prayer position, moving to a connecting perspective of twisting, if you will. It's that honoring of the spirit within me that salutes the spirit within you. It's known in its most traditional sense as namaste. That literally means I bow to you, not just to each other, but to that power that I spoke of just a moment ago. And so I invite each of us to open up to that process by coming together and placing our hands in prayer position over the heart, taking a deep breath in and exhaling. Another deep breath in to anchor ourselves into our awareness. And as we exhale, raise it to our lips, to our third eye, back to our lips, back to our heart, and say together, Namaste. The spirit within me salutes and honors the spirit within you. And I invite us all to bring into our mind's eye the individuals that we're honoring in this moment as we welcome each other into this virtual space. As a community, we teach primarily the science of mind, the philosophy, faith, and way of life that was created by Dr. Ernest Holmes. It is what's known as a New Thought teaching. In the latter part of the 19th century, many different metaphysicians came together to compose books, articles, ways of life that, if consolidated down, really comes down to this, that there is one power in the universe. We each individualize that power. It's all experienced and expressed through mind, the one mind that we all are a part of. That if we were to tune into our thinking, our ways of being, the way we act, react, and interact with life itself, then we realize that it responds to us and provides to us in form and experience a life that is externally a reflection of what's going on internally in our life. And so if we want to change our life, we do that by changing our thinking. And then to remember and realize that we live in a universe that's governed by spiritual law, meaning that it responds to us just as the law of gravity responds to us in an impersonal way. It just exists and does its things. And so not only is that just a component of life itself, but we have the opportunities before us to then use this power that we are individualized as in ways to propagate good, to enhance our life, to make a difference in life itself. We do that by becoming more and more acutely aware of how we show up in life, not to please others, but to fine-tune our awareness, our consciousness, and then become conscious of our actions in life, our reactions to life, our interactions with life itself. And so we get to play a role in the co-creative process of our life. And so as a community, we come together to support each one of us as we navigate life itself by supporting everyone with the vision of this community, which is supporting individuals finding their personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening. I invite you right now to open up to the spiritual awakening of tuning into the power in a new way, to declare for ourselves individually and collectively that through this opening, through this dissolving of that which isn't a reflection of our truth, that we become more powerful, more empowered in how we navigate life, and thus life itself does indeed get better. What do we mean by better? We mean that it is something that is more in alignment with that which reflects the qualities of the divine that we're all imbued with. Peace and power, beauty and joy, light, life, love, and wisdom. And so today, as we move into a a greater acceptance of who we are and honoring the unique expressions of life, know that as a community, we welcome all races, all religions, all countries of origins, all sexual orientations, all gender expressions, all abilities in life. No matter who you are in life and how you express yourself, we stand with you, shoulder to shoulder, heart to heart, mind to mind, honoring exactly who you are. One of my favorite quotes of Dr. Ernest Holmes is, "Spirit, the essence of life itself, has placed the stamp of individuality upon itself and called it you." Called it you. And so please affirm with me that this affirmation that we've used for 30 plus years as a community coming together is this: we welcome one and welcome all. Let's let that resonate over us today. And then in welcoming each individual, let's remember our vision statement of supporting individuals on their journey of finding personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening. We move into a ritual, an act of opening ourselves for this spiritual awakening through what we call our morning ritual titled Calling in the Light. I invite you to get comfortable wherever you may be in this moment. Begin to focus on the flickering flame of the candle on the screen. And let's know together that today we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples and all faiths and all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call spirit. To know that the purpose of this ritual is to draw into our gathering a more conscious awareness of our oneness and the qualities, as I spoke of a moment ago, that we possess as complete expressions of the divine. And so as we feel this shift from our vibrations, our being, during this experience of this ritual of opening, of affirmation, and following in song and prayer, let's each become ever more aware of the light of life that exists in and all expressions of life. In and all expressions of life, which include you and include me. The prayer that I have for us this morning is this, and I invite us all to open up to it as one of affirmation and not necessarily one of supplication. And it's this: O cosmic birther of all radiance and vibration, soften the ground. Let me get back to it. Sorry about that. O cosmic birther of all radiance and vibration, soften the ground of our being and carve out a space within us where your presence may abide. Fill us with your creativity so that we may be empowered to bear the fruit of your mission. Let each of our actions bear fruit in accordance with our desire. Endow us with the wisdom to produce and share what each being needs to grow and flourish, until the tangled threads of destiny that bind us, as we release others from entanglements of past mistakes. Do not let us be seduced by that which would divert us from our true purpose, but illuminate the opportunities of the present moment. For you, this great birther of all life, are the ground and the fruitful vision, the birth, power, and fulfillment, as all is gathered and made whole once again. And so it is. Continuing into looking into the flame that was on the screen, I invite you to take a moment and think of someone or individuals or the collective that you'd like to silently put into the flame, the light of this healing flame, which may include yourself, so that we may all in this moment experience the healing components of the eternal and everlasting love of the divine. Amy's going to come on to the screen and take us through our chant for this from a musical perspective called O Holy Light.
I am holy light. I am holy light. I am holy light. I am holy light. I am one with God. I am one with God. Join me singing, I am holy light. I am holy light. I am holy light. I am holy light. I am one with God. 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 I am one with God.
And so I invite each of us to just feel this presence of the oneness of the light that exists within. To see it radiating and emanating out from us, making a difference. Orbs of light traveling throughout the universe, which includes our lives and our everyday interaction with life itself. These orbs of light are healing components of the divine, transforming life itself, literally before our very eyes. What a glorious opportunity we have within us, before us, and as us to be a conscious participation in this evolutionary process of the shift that occurs as a result of who and what we know ourselves to be and how we show up. We let it be and say together, and so it is. Thank you all for riding the ride of that journey and that ritual. I believe that even that we do it Sunday after Sunday in various different formats, as well as it's done Sunday after Sunday in various other forums and formats known as Centers for Spiritual Living and other metaphysical and New Thought teachings. Each time it takes root in the consciousness of humanity, that through that radiance that's being emanated, the good is taking place, because energy begets energy. And the whole purpose of healing, as stated earlier, is revealing that which is that light of light. I'm so happy to have Amy with us today. If you know that last Sunday we were in person back in the building, it was just a wonderful experience, and we'll be back in the building again on October 22nd, so please mark your calendars for that. But in the interim, we get to come and play in this field, and it really is important to play in this field while we're here, to not make it solemn and heavy, and there's certainly times and moments for that. And Amy and I have certainly found a great rhythm of playing together, that we use quotes or readings to stimulate a great conversation, which then allows for her to have spirit speak to her for a song that she will want to share. And we're going to do that again today, because I really believe there's great merit in it, and there's a nugget or nuggets that speak to everyone differently. And so once again, as we stay open to this healing, this revelation of the divine moving through us, let's know that that's happening in this great journey, this conversation, because this teaching really is all about putting it in play. Our founding father, if you will, Ernest Holmes, says that information without application is hallucination. And so let's not live in an act of hallucination. Let's live in an act of finding ways to use it every day. I'm going to kick off our time together, our chat and song time together, with the new thought for the day text that went out this morning. I'm affirming and believing that all of you are on that text thread that goes out every morning at 7:30 a.m. Pacific time. It didn't quite make it at 7:30 this morning, but it did get out. Something happened with the system. But it's this, and we're going to use it as a stimulus for conversation. And if there are any thoughts that you all have in regards to anything that we're talking about, please feel free to throw it in the chat window if you're on Zoom. If you're on Facebook, you can throw it in the chat window there, and Travis or Robert will get it to us. It's a quote from the Dalai Lama, His Holiness, and it's this: happiness is not something ready made, it comes from your own actions. Happiness is a result of our choosing to live in joy. I love this acronym for joy: just open yourself. So I wrote in there, today let's commit to opening ourselves to the reality that happiness is ours for the thinking and being. What came up for me when I just read that quote of happiness is not something ready made, I thought of literally, I envisioned myself walking into a place 2 blocks over from me called Gelato Festival. I thought of, oh, could I just walk up and say, oh, today I'm going to have a single cone of happiness, right? For tomorrow I'm going to have a half a cone of despair, right? And the next day I'm going to have, right, a joyful today. It's not ready made. It is something that does come from our own actions, and they're actions that are internal, right? They're certainly external as well, but oftentimes, well, not oftentimes, always our external actions are a reflection of where we are in our awareness. You know, in our this teaching, which I've been a part of now for 40 years, we were taught in the late 20th century that consciousness is all there is. Consciousness is all there is. And I believe that's true, but I also think that's a really heavy word. You know, it's like, it's a big, heavy word. And so I like to look at that as, well, then what is consciousness? Well, I believe in its most simple form, consciousness is our awareness of our awareness, right? It's our awareness of our awareness. It's how we use our ability and our tools and the gifts given to us by the divine to use that which we're aware of as the power that is within us, right? And then as we evolve into a higher framework of that, how not only how do we use it, but what is our intention when we use it, right? Not just attention, but intention. One of my great teachers, even though it was only in person a few times, but oftentimes and on screen or through classwork that I would take, is the Dr. David Hawkins. And I'm going to move to this quote for us and then let you speak, Amy, that says, simple kindness to oneself and all that lives is the most powerful transformational force of all, period. But this is where it gets great. It produces no backlash. So let's hear these next parts of the statement and really open up to it. It, kindness, produces no backlash, has no downside, and never leads to loss or despair. It increases one's own true power without exacting any toll. But to reach maximum power, such kindness can permit no exceptions, nor can it be practiced with the expectation of some selfish reward. And its effect is as far reaching as it is subtle.
I got excited and I was looking up some a song that I would love to sing that kind of connects to this. And I was thinking about the first thing you shared as well. of the awareness of the consciousness, and how when I can be aware, like that I'm in despair, or that, and if I want to produce some action, some happiness through some action. I thought of that phrase, I'm sure you know it, but move a muscle, change a thought.
Uh-huh.
And it connects nicely to the second quote, because it says, what's the first part of the quote is it,
Simple kindness to oneself and
simple
all that
kindness.
lives.
I was thinking about something simple kindness, like taking a walk or
Right.
stretching, like a physical, like physically moving my body to, because that first thing is all about action, like the actions that I'm taking. And sometimes, it's not I got to go to the soup kitchen, it's just that I have to stretch and listen to the call. And this, I really love that idea that kindness has nothing, it's not, there's no backlash, there's no,
Right.
it's that boundless thing. And it made me think of this chant from Dave Avani and Myron Stamm, and it's "Love is Calling Me Home." It's just a beautiful chant. I'll just sing it once through, just to kind of give you this vibe that came through that I was like
Sure.
frantically looking for my chords for, because it's so in line with what you're saying, and I love to just kind of punctuate what you're saying with song. It goes like this: Love is calling me home. Love has opened the door. Come inside and feel the light. Here it is, this line here. Love asks nothing more. So, for instance, I could sing, kindness is calling me home. Kindness has opened the door. Come inside and feel the light. Kindness asks nothing more. Do you feel that?
I do, and I do. I love it. Thank you. The visual of moving the muscle to changing the thought and getting outdoors is something I resonate with. I do that a lot. Um, and I do it oftentimes very consciously as a spiritual practice, in the sense that when I hit the sidewalk, especially if I have Miss Sweeney with me, or even if not, is I become conscious of one foot moving in front of the next. That's the now, right? And then as you take the next step, it's the next now. And then the next step is the next now, right? So we're here to live in the moment, right? That's really what we're called to do in the most modern approach to this philosophy, faith, and way of life, is to stay present in the moment, to let go of the past, not be attached to the future, and just be present, right? Be present. And then in that practice of being present, choosing how we're going to share our divinity. I mean, how are we going to do that through our humanity? Hawkins is telling us that's the way to do that, is through simple kindness, right? That nothing more, nothing less. And as you're saying, that doesn't mean you you don't have to go to the soup kitchen. Doesn't mean that you can't go to the soup kitchen, right? But sometimes, and most often, the kindness that is required in that moment is to the self, right? Because we've spun some tale in our mind, TALE, that that we're not worthy, or that something's going on and we're a victim, right? Or that the fear that we're feeling has more power than the faith that we have within us, right? That we forget that it's that, as one of my teachers, Dr. David Walker, used to say, don't tell don't tell God how big your problems are. Tell your problems how big your God is, right? Now, if you don't get caught up in the languaging of that, right, what's being said there is, don't get caught up in the minutia of the external, right? and then telling that power within you, oh my God, I can't grow. Like I'm so enslaved by the past, right? Or what somebody did to me. Tell the past or the fear, out of my way, sister. Like I'm going to surrender to that which is within me and let it guide me. And the only place you have to let it guide you is to the next step, right? I'm sure it's akin to 12-step programs, right? You go to the next, you take the next step, right? And then you live in that till the next step. That's the healing element that Holmes talks about when he says healing is an act of revealing, right?
Okay, so do you want me to sing my song One Step?
Do you want to sing on one step?
A little bit of it? Because that's really what it's about, and that's what these teachings have taught me. And this song is kind of like the New Thought 101 song.
Before you do that, I want to hit with the next quote, but I want you to sing that song.
Oh yeah, tell me.
This quote is important because it speaks to this. It's from Don Jose Ruiz. Our distortion of the truth often leads to needless conflict and human suffering. Awareness makes all the difference. I think that's the perfect lead into your song.
I love him. One step, one step in. Old-time religion is a box I do not fit in. I am metaphysical, I am transcendent. Change a situation by changing your mind. Raise the vibration by knowing you are divine. Make a mental path, one step, repeat. I surrender to the presence of God in me. Make a mental path, one step, repeat. I am practicing the presence of the goddess in me. Oh. Possibility that is you. When you stand in opposition, you perpetuate the thing which you resist. Persist, so let love be what you bring. Make a mental path, one step, repeat. I surrender to the presence of God in me. Make a mental path, one step, repeat. I am practicing the presence of the goddess. Oh, make a mental path, one step, just do. Surrender to the presence of the God in you. Just do. I'm practicing the presence of the goddess in you. Taking one step, one step. I'm not going to sing the whole song just because today, we got a lot of quotes we want to get to.
I love that. So what I think that definitely leads us right to where I wanted us to go, because, it's easy to talk in this ethereal, esoteric terms of stop and turn it over to the divine within you, right? Well, that alone is such a big ideal. It's like, well, how the hell do I know where it is? Like, what's it going to look like? Where, like, is it going to show up in light? Is the light going to be purple? I mean, what is it? Or is it an external light? Like, right? It's like, okay, oh, what's that, right? But this next quote from Abraham, of Abraham and Esther Hicks, I love it. And it might be a little controversial for some of you in your philosophy, but I invite you to just let the quote speak to you in the sense of being open to the presence that we're speaking of. Abraham says, one must step back a bit and try to view yourself from a broader perspective. You must see yourself as a being who has lived thousands of lifetimes, physical and non-physical. One who has gained knowledge through all of those life experiences. Now, one can throw out philosophy as whether that's true or not, right? But who knows? But what a great guide to just being open to saying, okay, in this philosophy, faith, and way of life, we teach that there's only one life. It doesn't say there's only one incarnation of life. It says there's only one life force, right? I love this quote because it creates such a visual, such an energetic foundation, right, of both the force of life and the knowledge, the wisdom of the divine that we could have all gained, which a lot of it, both at this lifetime and any others, sure could have come from celebrations and joy. It also could come from despair and heartache and pain and wonderment and excitement, all of that, right? But when we all get caught in those moments of not knowing how to get to the next moment, sometimes that's, trying to decide what to have for dinner, and sometimes it's trying to decide where to live in life, right? That just step back, just step back and gain a broader perspective. But not just a broader perspective, but do it as a being of life that has all of this cosmic history at your disposal.
I saw this great TikTok recently that talked about, because even if you don't believe in past lives and that's not aligned with your new thought philosophy beliefs or whatever, you come from so many people.
Right.
Have you seen like the multiplication, like your parents
Yeah.
and their parents' parents and their parents' parents, like 2,000 years, it took a million people for you to exist. Like if you
Right.
go back and back and back. So even if you don't believe in past lives, we've got all this genetic
Correct.
genius, that knowledge. And I also love that idea that like we're breathing the same air that Einstein breathed, and we're all that stuff.
Yeah. I've taught often in some classes about mathematical ancestry, right? And I would pull it up if I could access it that fast, but I won't be able to. But I might in a moment. But what? Let's just it. Let's. I think it's 1,042 people within the last 200 years, right? That's how many. I'm going to throw that number out that had to come together for you to exist, right? And that's genealogically, right? That's not cosmically. That's genealogically, right? That's sperm and egg coming together, right? And so then in our teaching, and I believe in life, we um, come from that history, literal history, right, of what went on in the consciousness of those individuals. And those individuals were existing based on the individuals they came from and the effects of um, what was going on in the world of effect in their life, right? And so we have all of that with us. So it's the same essence, right, of just not taking it as far back, of um, both what we're subject to and what we're blessed with, right? Those exist simultaneously, right? And so I think it then
That
takes
reminds
us,
me of my mother.
well, of course, and it brings a smile and laughter to your face, right? So that's a good thing, right? This next quote, which keeps us on this path, says to us, you, the individual, think of yourselves, or humans, as humans searching for a spiritual awakening, when in fact you are spiritual beings attempting to cope with a human awakening. Seeing yourselves from the perspective of the spirit within will help you to remember why you came here and what you came here to do. And I would say, add to that, what you came here to do and came here to be. What does that mean to you in this very moment, Amy?
I am here to be a dog owner, and my dog is barking in the background. I hope you don't hear it. I just love this idea. It goes really well with the last quote about zooming out, just being able to see that, like, I'm not, I don't know if you know this right now, and I don't know how much you talk about astrology here, but, 6 planets are in retrograde right now,
Right.
which means astrologically, if you're into that at all, is that we look back right now. And so it's interesting that you're talking about past lives, and that we're talking about like what are you here for, like, and I tend to look back. I've been all week looking back at my purpose, and um it's interesting because I don't know if anybody watching has had this experience this week where it's kind of like the ghosts of the past have been coming up, like the darkness and the stories of like the not enough, all that stuff. So some of the quotes that you've read to me earlier that we're going to share today about like self-love and about being that love in the world, like that it can just be that simple, and that the mistakes that I've made or the things that I've done that feel like they're off track. They're not off track. They're just a part of the journey, you know? So I'm questioning all that right now. So it's funny that you asked me that, because I'm questioning like what is my spirit here to do and be? And I think one of the things is to do this, like with you right here, right now,
yes.
to be a part of these communities, these new thought communities. That feels very in line with my spirit.
Well, I really believe that we forget the simplicity of this teaching, that we forget the simple acts of kindness. We forget that that it can be really simple, really. That's the bottom line, right? And of course, there have been parts of our life that we can look back and wished were different. Of course, there can be things that we did that we, think are crazy. I was watching Bill Maher last night as I was cooking dinner, and political aside, but he was talking to Trace Adkins, and Trace Adkins, who's just this huge personality, and they were talking about life, and the conversation came up. Do you have any regrets? And he was like, well, I'm a recovering addict. Yes, I have regrets, right? And he went on to tell stories of his life, which are really funny, I thought. But Bill Maher said, I get so annoyed with these people, meaning like modern day spiritual people, that say, oh no, I don't have a zero regret in my life, because if I hadn't gone through what I've been through, I wouldn't be in this moment. And as he said that, I thought, well, I've taught that, I've taught that. And so it gave me the opportunity to think that through. And I think that we can be grateful that we're in this moment. The truth is we are in this moment because of everything that we've gone through in life. And we get to choose our state of mind to how we want to be in this life. And we can also have regret. Like those things can all exist simultaneously, right? So
I think so, but I also think Bill Maher is like not spiritual at all. I love Bill Maher, but
might be a little more spiritual than you think. But the point is looking at being able to hold the past in life in perspective, being able to wish you could have done it different, but knowing you didn't, right? And all of that bringing us back to the red circle in the target. If you were a bow and arrow puller, right, in archery, and really do our best from here forward of hitting the mark, right? I mean, really, that's sin. The word sin in its Latin origin means missing the mark, right? So our objective here is to do our best to hit the mark to the best of our ability each expression of life going forward. Thought, action, reaction, interaction, provocation, when we go into reflection, like all of that's the intention and the objective, right? I think that the most effective way for that to happen in a way that provides personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening is to live with conviction that the power of life is unfailing, that which we call God, right? That there's no doubt there, that it's part of our cellular makeup, that we know it's got our back, so to speak, in modern day terms. The next quote we have is...
Wait, before you go on, you can't go on without me addressing regret. I gotta address regret.
Go for it, honey.
Because I feel like, how can you regret the shit when it's fertilizer? How can you regret the missing of the mark when it taught you how to pull that arrow back? Like, without those shots and those misses, I guess some people can just pull it back and hit it right in the middle, but I know I've had to make mistakes to learn, to grow. Do you know what I mean by that? Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying like, don't regret anything. Like, of course I do things that I regret, but like on the bigger scale, I can see why spiritual people would say that, and I'm also defensive about Bill Maher. I hate to be like that, but because I just feel like there's so much misogyny and other stuff on his show, but I love him. I actually love him. I have a love-hate thing with him, but I think that like taking aim at that, especially like a person in recovery, because when you're in recovery, you're so grateful for your bottom. And you're so grateful for your mistakes
Well,
because
that's
they
what
lead you to the
he's saying.
light.
He's saying it's okay to have regrets. That's what he's saying. Yeah, it is okay. He says it's actually really human to have regrets. So I think the thing about it is, if one, I'll speak for myself. Any regrets that I have in my life are a result of things I've done that I know have hurt others. That's all. That's where it is for me. It's just where I know that I have inflicted pain, whether intentionally or not. And sometimes it was intentional, right? So that's the way I couch that. But what I also know is I I can't change that. I can certainly do my part to heal it if I want, right? But to not, what we're speaking of is to not be enslaved to that, and to then choose to be able to hold that in perspective, potentially have regret for it, and then choose to live in the now. To the greatest tool for healing is revealing the light that is within, right? So,
I think we might be talking a little bit of semantics because I do think it is important to regret because you can make that different choice, right?
uh-huh.
So the regret could lead to a different action, right?
Yes.
Anyway, philosophy and spirituality with Keith and Amy.
Well, that's what we're here for. Yeah. So then the next quote is by my dear friend, and I believe you know her as well, is Reverend Lola Wright. And the quote is, doubt is not the way of the universe. And you and I are reflections of this universe, which means a chronic commitment to fear and doubt leads us out of alignment, creating dis-ease. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I just love her and I think of her as this such a strong energy and I love that concept that doubt. Say that first part of it again one more time. Doubt is not the way of the universe, right?
Doubt is not the way of the
Like
universe.
a flower isn't like should I or shouldn't I? Like
Right, exactly.
and I love that idea. So it's like who I am is who I am because this is who I'm meant to be. I love that. I think that's powerful.
So
That
it
can be really
is, and that's
powerful.
where I want us to go, because if you, I love that you said a flower because you're surrounded by them around your cloth, you know. But it's important to remember it's not just the flower that there's no doubt. It's also with the seed, right? So inherent
Mm.
within the seed is the fulfillment of its nature, right? There's no doubt that that seed, a sunflower seed, is going to produce a sunflower, right?
Well,
So,
there's a
it's the
power.
mustard. It's like they talk about in the Biblia of the mustard seed. You don't plant a mustard seed expecting, a turnip.
There's a power.
Yeah.
There's a power in a seed, reminding itself how to become a tree. There's a power in a cell, and it's capable of making a you or a me. There's a power in a word, vibrating at a frequency, and there's a power within that power, within that power. Back of all of it is love, 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 love. Love, 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 love. One more time, there's a power in a seed, reminding itself how to become a tree. There's a power in a cell, and it's capable of making a you or a me. There's a power in a word, love, vibrating at a frequency, and there's a power within that power. Within that power is love. Just a little ditty.
I love it. So that obviously leads us directly to the next quote, which is the guide for us. And it's this: when I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid. I'm going to read it again. When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid.
That reminds me of like the definition of courage, like having fear but doing it anyway. And again, it's back to that action of the very first quote and the very first idea that, I can feel the fear and do it anyway. What a concept. That's powerful.
Well, Dr. Walker used to say fear, he used to always kind of point to right above his belly button. Fear is just telling us that there's more we need to know. Period.
I like that.
Right?
And in that quote that you just read, it talked about how you could use your power and your strength despite the fear.
Well, in addition, exactly. But the thing I like about this quote, when it says, when I dare to be powerful, when I dare to live in my power, right? To be vulnerable, to be who I am, both humanly and divinely, right? Then that is using my strength to the service of my vision, right? I'm believing that each of our visions is to live authentically our divinity, right, as humans, right? Then it becomes less and less important whether I'm afraid. Well, why is that? Because we're choosing to not let fear or doubt, as Lola told us earlier, which is pretty much the same thing, be our state of being. We're letting the opposite of fear, which is faith, be that, right? I believe it's the Course in Miracles that tells us there's either fear or love, right? Those are the only two things, right? If we were to couch that in this metaphysical terminology, right? Choosing to live with courage. Courage means to live, and it's courage, and its Latin translation comes from the word courage. The meaning of courage means to live from the heart, right? The heart is the symbol of love. And in New Thought, in metaphysics, love isn't a human emotion. That's not what we're speaking of. We're speaking of, as Ernest Holmes calls it, the self-givingness of spirit, whose desire is to create more of itself out of itself. And the only way it can do that is through you and through me, right? David Hawkins says, as humans, we're confused to believe that love is an emotion. It's not an emotion, it's an attitude, semicolon, a way of living life. So all of what we're talking about here is living in the shift, right? There being a shift, and then there being a shift, and then there's being a shift.
Shift happens.
Right? Remember we had that teen camp theme years ago called Shift Happens. Huge uppercase S, a huge uppercase H, a huge uppercase I on the t-shirt, and then a itty bitty little F, and then a huge uppercase T, right? So
It's funny because I was thinking about teen camp when you're talking about love, and I was thinking about the first time I saw the teens circle up and sing, I love myself so much, so I can love you so much, so you can love you so much, so you can start loving me. And it was so intense, it was so deep. I cried thinking of these teenagers able to express this love, and it was more than a frothy emotional thing. It was the presence of God.
right.
I live my presence of God so much so that you can live your presence of God so much, so that we can be the awakening presence of an expression of the divine together. It's kind of a beautiful thing.
And yet I did that for 17 years with those teenagers, so I know that most often it was a little bigger than that. Not that what you're saying is incorrect, but it was steeped in, I want to love you as a human so you can love me, without really understanding that that's the stimulus to letting the divine make itself known, right? So ultimately it was them, the divine meeting the divine. But first they had to let down.
Like learn to kind of love
Yeah, they had to
the
let-
human
I think
self,
it's
right?
true for all of
I
us.
think
They
that was
gotta
my
let down
interpretation of it.
Yeah, but we've all got to let
Watching
down
it.
the shackles of loving each other in a human way. Backing back up to the quotes from today, Hawkins tells us the way to do that is through simple kindness, right? That's how we do it, right? And then be open to the spirit propagating itself out of itself to itself as that's unfolding, right? To remember that life responds by corresponding, that as Ernest tells us in our next quote, life is a mirror and will reflect back to the thinker what they thinks into it. So that's what we're all really called to do here.
You are my mirror.
You're my mirror. Mirror, mirror on the screen.
The most fabulous of them all.
Right. Who so dares to be loving, not mean, right? So
Yeah, kindness and daring to be courageous, to love, daring to express as that power. And I think love is a funny thing, because it is that word that you can think about, that eros, but it is that agape that when I can tap in and tune into that, I can feel that peace, that presence, that wholeness, that I'm held in that love. I am that love, and it's a tough one, because it's so Hallmark word. It's such a Hallmark card word. I love you, and it goes back to me to Troward and learning about Troward and every, love is everywhere. I'm loving and lovable. All that stuff like comes back to love being essential for life, and that seed, the impetus, the creative power, whatever, these are all words in containers. So it's funny because you can't really grab it. You try to grab it, you can't, but.
well, in our philosophy, those words are all qualities of the divine. It all comes back to it's just one thing, right? We're using words to try to disseminate a practical approach to understanding and being that the thing itself, the one thing, all that there is. Our theme for the month is living it, giving it. And so I want us to know that what we've shared this morning has really just been, from our perspective, an engaging conversation
I can't believe what time it is.
I know. For a stimulus to stimulate each of us to do that. And I trust that you've all garnered something. I'm going to read the last quote and then hand it over to you, Amy, to do a song to encapsulate it all. Okay? And my invitation and affirmation for each of us before we close this portion of the service is to be willing to be open enough to live in your power in a new way today, and to do everything in your power to allow yourself the gift of just being present in the moment, and then being present in the moment, and being present in the moment, of letting go of what was and anticipation of what is to be. I'm going to close with a quote from Maya Angelou, and I think it speaks so true for where we are at in the conversation that we just had. And it's titled On the Pulse of Morning, speaking of mornings being each new opportunity that we have. She writes, the great Maya, each new hour holds new chances for new beginnings. Do not be wedded forever to fear, yoked eternally to brutishness. The horizon leans forward, offering you space to place new steps of change.
That is so beautiful. The horizon leans forward. I just feel like singing a chant so that anybody here who's had some thoughts can sing along, with me. And this is just, I am opening. I am opening. My heart is ready to receive. So if there's a message that you received today, or that there's something that you have to open to, that this gives you the opportunity to sing about it. Because I am opening. I am opening. My heart is ready to receive. I am opening, living it, giving it. I am opening my heart. My heart is ready to receive. Once more time. I am opening. I am open. I am opening. My heart is ready to receive. Just a little chant to end us.
Thank you so very much. I love playing with you in this realm.
I know, it's wonderful.
Yeah, Cheryl says we should put it on YouTube and take it
I
on.
love it. I
Take
think it goes on YouTube, doesn't it?
It does, yes. We air it on YouTube for sure. We do. Thank you. So we're going to now move to the next part of our service where we're going to provide each of us the opportunity to support our community financially. We are a community that thrives on thrives on the good that is exchanged by means of each one of us in the universe. And so know that in advance your contribution to that financially and in person makes a huge difference in the world. We're a tithing community. We have a board meeting after the service today, and we'll be speaking of our next tithe. We're a tithing community and give back to the universe in a very specific way. So the ways to do that today, you can go to our website, www.csl-la.org, and click on donate. You can go to the app in the App Store, and that'll take you through that as well. You can mail in a check. Our address is there on the screen, 1200 North La Brea Avenue, West Hollywood, California, 90038. You can call me if you'd like for that to be done privately, as well as we have a congregant that reached out this week that wanted to do it in a different way, and we set it up for them to use Zelle, so you can do that as well. So there are a myriad of ways to be a conscious participant in supporting our community, and know that we're deeply appreciative of all of that. Amy's going to come back and sing the song "Love Is My Decision" for us. Feel free to sing along, and as we take a moment to support our community financially.
Thanks for having me again, Keith. Love is my decision. It's up to me to give of my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And once I decide to change my mind, Source will show me how. Love is my decision right here and now. Is my decision right here and now.
And so I affirm for each of us, we're in the flow of good, and that we give as we do so, we do with an open hand and an open heart, knowing that we understand the flow of good in the universe. That which we extend returns to us multiplied abundantly, because we live in an abundant universe. And so it's all done not out of the expectation of what we get, but knowing that as we give, we create a shift. Good exists. We are that good, and we let it be as we say together, amen. And so it is. A big thank you to Amy Steinberg for being here today with us to play in this realm. Just love having you, Amy. And
Thank you so much for having me again. It's
a
a
big thank you
blast.
Yeah, much fun. It's much fun. And I trust and know that it provides something that's different than that traditional format of just,
Oh yeah.
speaking for 25, 37
Mm-hmm.
minutes. Not that that's wrong, but it creates an opportunity for everyone and everything to do it different, especially since we're technically, and we wouldn't be able to do this anyway unless we were in the same city. So how much fun that we get to do
The
that.
blast. I
Big
appreciate you
thank
so
you
much.
to Travis Smith, our audio technician, as well. Amy knows him, who keeps us in great stead technologically from an audio perspective. A big thank you to Robert Hensley, who is our social media guy, as well as our does social media for us and keeps us going there, and the administrative assistant. A big thank you to each and every one of you for being here today, however you may have joined us, whether that's live or at a later date through one of our social media outlets. To find out more about who we are, you can go to our website, csl-la.org, and that can give you more information, as well as the app in the App Store is a great resource for information, past messages, to access the text for the day. The list goes on and on. Speaking of text for the day, I trust and know that you're all getting those. They go out every morning at 7:30. We're getting a great response to those. Please share those with your friends. Also, please ask your friends to sign up for those, as well as Robert takes those from a printed format and turns them into an animated format that then goes out through social media world in the various Instagrams, Facebook, goes on and on. So know that we're here reaching out, doing our best to make a difference in the world. Each Wednesday morning at 8:30 a.m. there's an online meditation that you can join. That's a great way to do meditation. And if you're new to it, it's a great way to learn a little bit about meditation. Please be conscientious and be a part of that. We'd love to have you there. And that's where we're at for now. So thank you for being here today. We're going to close with an affirmation slash spiritual mind treatment slash meditation. Just, take a breath, a big breath in and exhale. The purpose of that is to let go of any tension or resistance. Just feel the presence. And so I affirm for each of us today that an awakening is unfolding by means of us, an alignment at a very subconscious level to our innate and inherent truth. We call forth a mental image of the genealogical and spiritual genealogical history that we have. Letting it be a foundation, a strengthening of mind that is within us to turn to. And we use that as we make covenant with ourselves to begin on a new pathway of our journey today. One that may be just a slight turn to the left or to the right in life, with the purpose and intention of ending up in a new destination. One that is a reflection of who we know ourselves to be divinely, and thus we move towards that, which appears to be an external journey, but is indeed equally an internal journey, one step at a time. And so we take the next step, and then take a deep breath in, and exhale, allowing ourselves to just be in the presence. And then as we prepare ourselves, we take the next step. Realizing and remembering that we take the power with us on each step along the way. So we inhale and exhale. Ready ourselves to take the next step. Internally going deeper into our our psyche and our soul. Externally, moving towards the light. For that is our journey ahead. We celebrate this opportunity for journey to continue to grow and to flow and to know that the spirit within is always present. And we let it be our guide. And the adventure becomes more and more enjoyable. While at the same time we are leaving an imprint that is making a difference. Let it be, and so it is. Thank you all for being here today. I know that life, your life, is continually filled with the adventurous nature of finding your personal self-empowerment on this spiritual awakening, which is an awakening, and then an awakening, and then an awakening. Make it a magnificent day simply because you're in it. Thank you. Take care.